Hello and welcome back to the codeigniter series. In the last video, we created a newsletter, and in this video, we're going to set it up so people can comment on the different posts. Let's make our comments controller. We're going to make a function called add comment. We want to have a post ID variable. We're going to say if nothing got posted, then we're just going to redirect. Let's bring them to that post ID. Let's also make sure that they're logged in. I went ahead and used code from a previous video. I just made it so that if there isn't a user type in the session, then we need to redirect them to the login page. Then we're going to load the comment model and create a data array. We're going to add the post ID, the user ID, and lastly the comment. We're going to say this comment, add comment. Let's add the data, and then let's redirect them back to that page. So there we have it. Let's also look at how I set this table up. You can see it's a simple table. I just have a comment ID, post ID, user ID, the comment, and the date that it was posted. Next, we need to create the model. We're going to do two functions. First, let's go ahead and add our add comment. This one's very simple. We're just inserting in the database. The second, we're going to grab the comments. And so this one's a little trickier, but it's still pretty simple. We're doing our selector, and I want to grab everything from comments and the actual username, because we only have the user ID in the comments table. Then I'm going to do a join. So users.userid equals comments.userid. And I want to do a left join. Then we add a where. So make sure it's the correct post. And then I want to order by comments.date added. And I'm actually going to do this ascending. Then the rest is pretty straightforward. The last thing we need to do before we can test this is we need to update the post view. We also want to update the post controller. So if we look at our post view, it's very simple. What I want to do after the post is I'm just going to add a horizontal row, and then we want to display the comments. So I'm going to say if count comments is greater than 0, so there are comments, then I want to do a for each. I'm going to keep this simple, so we're just going to say username said at, let's make the date a little bit friendlier, and then let's display the comment. And then I'm going to add another horizontal row. So we have the for each. Let's also do an else here. Let's say there are currently no comments. Then we want to add a form to add a comment. I went ahead and pasted this in just to save time. You already know how to do this. So we're just opening the form, adding a text area named comment, and adding a form button. Let's go to the controller. And on the post page, we want to load the comment model, and then add from the data array, we want to add all the comments. The last thing I want to do before we load the view is I want to add the form helper. Now if I go to a post, I can see the box and there's currently no comments. We're also not logged in, so I'll do test, and it's telling us to log in. I'm just going to log in as user because it has the least permissions, but it should still work. If I go back to the post, do another test, now you can see it added the test comment. So now that we've done that, let's add the captcha form. The first thing we need to do is we need to create a folder called captcha. After we've done that, let's go back to the post controller. We're going to take advantage of a captcha helper. Let's load the helper, and we're going to add some values to this. So do vals equals array. We'll do image path, and that's the captcha folder that we just added. You want to make sure there's a trailing slash, image URL, and those are the only two that are required. But I'm going to add a width. I'm going to make it 150, and I'm going to do a height of 30. Then we'll say cap equals create captcha with the vals that we just did. and then I want to save the captcha value into a session. So we're setting captcha, and in the cap array, there is something called word, and that's the word that's being saved. There's also one that says image, and that's the actual image. Now if we go back to our post view, we want to add a captcha. So I'm just going to output captcha, and then we're going to create an input box. Let's just name it captcha. We'll echo that out. Now you can see we've added the captcha, and if I keep refreshing, you can see it's showing different codes every time. The last thing we'd want to do is update the comment controller. So we want to add an if statement. So if the captcha that's in the session doesn't match what we posted, then we want to give an error. And so I'm going to convert these variables into lowercase because I don't want it to be case sensitive. So if that is not equal to, then let's echo out the captcha code was incorrect. You typed in and the code was, so we have that, else. Let's go ahead and try this. I'm going to type in the code incorrectly. You can see we typed something in that didn't match what the captcha code was. We go back, make sure we refresh. Let's go ahead and try and add that now. And now our test was added. You can also make it so that you have the same code every time. It's not secure, but if you're trying to test things out and you're having a hard time entering the code, all we would do is add a value of word, and let's say test. Now every time I reload this, it has tests there every single time. We've learned how to use a captcha and how to make it so that only users can add comments. In the next video, we're going to add on to the comments and we're going to make it so we can add smileys.